faculty this year. It's been an exciting year since we left 360-some days ago. And I have to say, one of the charges Jed asked me to do was talk about campus successes. And as I said, so I did the normal thing, send them on over, Jed let me cherry pick the good ones and share about everything with it. And then he said, well, Jerry, here they are, but here's the reality. Last year at the first year's summit, when we sat down and we asked and called for successes, we received 100 responses from our campuses and our partners across the way that we could share on our revolving site that we had here. This year's list had doubled. Perhaps you're just more confident that you actually have successes, but the bottom line is, I believe that there have been more successes, partly because of this event, and surely all due to each and every one of your efforts of you in the audience. So rather than go through each one of those successes, please do pay a particular mindful attention to those when you have a few minutes to watch what your colleagues are doing. Because one of the things that this summit is all about is the collaborations and the sharing, and then expanding the role that each and every one of you, your successes, and quite frankly, as reminded earlier today, our failures are the things that we're here to talk about to make sure that we're understanding what's working, what's not, and what we can make it better. So please take a look at those 200 and some projects that are out there and sharing it that we picked out that you ought to be aware of, and then ask in perhaps over the quietness of a meal, what didn't work for you and what we got to do better, because that's the next step. But I would like to talk to a couple of successes that perhaps aren't as evident, and I know that aren't on the rolling screen. The first one is one success is that I found out something great and tremendous about my organization, meaning UNC General Administration, this year. And that is, after working with President Ross, I've discovered a leader that has an extreme passion about what we're doing here for the next 3 days. And those of you, and many of us have seen that passion, and those of you attending the event tonight will see that passion coming out. And frankly, that's a benefit to us all, not only individually at our campuses, but also as we look at expanding our role and our influence on what we're here about doing in sustainability, not only at the university level, the state level, and beyond. So there's a tremendous success. Our board has supported that success, as President Ross did, by asking that each campus have designate a chief sustainability officer. Now, I know many of you already have a person that has that role, but by asking that that person be identified specifically by the chancellor, and perhaps it's going to be one or two people at some campuses, but the idea is not one of punishment, not one of mandate, but one of asking that we have a single point of contact and an advocate that will create the collaborations across the academy, or as I call it, the academics and the operations, to make sure that we continue to expand the role, not just as is our focus currently on energy, but to continue to grow the opportunity to look at all the other areas of sustainability that the board policy addresses, but that each our campuses deserve and our students, faculty, and staff want us to address. So there's that person, or persons as it might turn out to be, is somebody that we're going to look towards being that primary advocate for and communication with. With that in mind, we tried to do during the course of the past year, we had the first convening of what I had called the chief sustainability officers, the chief sustainability contacts for each of the campuses. And I thought that was a tremendous success, is that we had the first meeting of those things, a lesson learned that led into the learning teams and the other teams that we have brought together. Another initiative that was specifically sparked by President Ross and that many of our campuses are participating in right now is our system-wide energy performance lighting contract. I believe it's 13 or 14 campuses that are working on that. We continue to work forward to identify that. And one of the comments that, one of the particular developments that we're proud of is that last year, if you were fortunate enough to be at the summit, there was a CFO from Cree here that made a claim that perhaps LED lighting technology had emerged far enough that it could be possible to be used in a large-scale retrofit. So far, that's proved to be true. In fact, they've partnered with JCI, Johnson Controls, and Johnson Controls is the ESCO for the system-wide lighting energy project right now. We're excited about the possibilities. We're still hopeful that the numbers pencil out, truly pencil out. State Energy Office and others that have to check off on the financing, they're a tough group. And frankly, you know, the economy's cranking up a little bit. We're going to have to pay a little bit more for our money. But hopefully that lighting, as reminded again, should provide the opportunity to be a successful energy performance contracting project. Also want to say something about one of our particular focuses, as I mentioned, was on energy. So far this year, through your collaborative efforts across the UNC nation, let's say, $63 million of energy costs have been avoided. Well done. Since the program's inception, back against the 2000 and 2003 baseline, $241 million of cost avoidance. And as we're all in this together with other state agencies, we are within 3% of meeting the mandated goal. We're currently at 27%, of which we're contributing 23% of that overall goal. So keep up the fine work. We're going to keep on moving forward on that. So appreciate it. If you want to talk about other successes that we may or may not have, I got one more I got to think about here. Cross-campus collaborations, there's been a number of them. One of the things that we hope to do is fertilize thoughts in one campus and ensure that they're translated to others. One thing that I've noticed, and it's one of the joys of my particular role, is I see these collaborations that are starting to form, but there's not only internal customers and internal silos being broken down, but there's also between campuses silos that you might say are collaborations that are being built, or as you say, disassembling some things between campuses that have hindered continued progress as we go forward. So congratulations on those of you that are looking at. We're about sharing, and we're all in this together. Some of the housekeeping chores that Jed asked me to care for. One, the initiative goals. What's the goals of the Appalachian Energy Summit? And quite frankly, these goals have been adopted by the UNC Energy Leadership Challenge verbatim. I'll just remind you what those are. I should have had them up there, but I think we probably have. We'll see. Maybe there'll be a quiz at the end, at the backside of this, to see how close we can get to these 5 goals. Here's the 5 goals as stated. Educate our students to be leaders of tomorrow through our active and demonstrated pursuit of the initiative goals. reduce and stabilize the university's average annual energy expenditures currently equaling $1,000 per student. Target costs associated with the university's rising an annual $226 million expenditure on energy. Our focus on this initiative, as Mr. Lovins alluded to, will be to cumulatively save the university system in excess of $1 billion over the next 20 years. Transform and stimulate the North Carolina economy, creating jobs in the new energy economy. And one of the things that Mr. Lovins, the other Mr. Lovins, the distinguished Mr. Lovins reminded us last time, the other Mr. Lovins is distinguished as well. But the one that reminded us last time of reinventing fire, there is a business case to be made for doing business as unusual. Doing business as unusual. Position the University of North Carolina system and our private university colleagues as national leaders. We are part of something much bigger. And quite frankly, the UNC system is leading by example with some of our other state agencies. And you also should know that North Carolina, as its commitment to the Better Building Challenge, is also leading by example of our sister states, all of which is exactly what I would expect of this crowd, that I look upon and see the value that you bring to us. Create a culture of environmental and economic sustainability across the UNC system and beyond. I hope that you'll keep these 5 goals in mind as you go through your time today. I hope you reflect on those goals each and every day that you're here together and see if you can link the conversations that you have to each and every one of those goals. The third thing that I was asked to talk a little bit about was the reformulation of our working groups. And I'll be brief on this because many of you were at the mid-year meeting and you heard about our transformation from the cross-functional groups that we had, for example, a leadership group where we asked everybody to come together that had an interest in the leadership from all different factions of sustainability. This year we tried a little different tack because quite frankly when we went through in the last 12 months and we tried to bring these working groups together, we weren't as successful as we wanted to be. It didn't seem like it was a natural tendency for these groups to get together and to work together. And we said, well, perhaps we just took the wrong path. Maybe we have to back up 1 or 2 steps on this particular feature and reformulate the groups, which is what we did. So this year's the groups are formulated around what I call naturally occurring or already occurring groups. For example, campus-based energy efficiency working group is hopefully pre-populated with the energy managers from each one of the campuses in our institutions. This is a group that meets on a regular basis and talk about these issues, and so that there's like interest in each one of these groups. So we try to build that to get that synergy as a starting point. Hopefully that the goals, the initiatives that each one of the working groups walk away from would be discussed not as individually coming together specifically to address that, but as part of a larger conversation about all the other issues that were coming along. But on the other hand, you're still not excluded. If you're not an energy manager and you still want to go to the campus-based energy efficient working group, please make sure that you're there and partaking of this. It wasn't meant to be exclusionary. It was meant to form a nucleus or a synergy that would then be built upon and that would continue us to the next year when we get back together. So campus-based energy efficiency, energy managers, working group, the other one, high performance campus design. Essentially, our design and construction folks and campus architects will be coming together in that group, leading it as the nucleus. There's academic integration, sustainability directors, and academic leaders. Transportation working group that will bring together transportation managers, and that was a learning experience from both the global perspective and from the summit's perspective. We learned a lot more, and we're a lot smarter today about transportation than we were when we left last time. So it's been a good conversation. I think we have a strong nucleus team together to really move forward on the transportation issues that we have. Financing, regulatory, and energy generation, senior facility officers, and the final and sixth leadership, or working group team, student leadership and engagement. And frankly, I should have started with that group first, because that, as President Ross pointed out at the luncheon today, this is the group that's going to go forward and carry forward the message and have to live with the legacy and pass on that legacy as they talk around the campfire. So it's been my pleasure, as I should, it's been beyond pleasure. It's been an opportunity that I could not ask for anything more for the last 12 months to be part of this initiative. And I hope that you take the time to think about what a summit is. And I'll leave you with these thoughts. Agree with them or don't agree with them, but I'll at least mull them over. We're here today to recall the past. We're here today to celebrate the successes and be in the present. But we're also here the next 3 days to set a course for the next 12 months in the future. So past, present, and future is what we're here about. And it's appropriate in I think 3 lifetimes ago, I had leaders that stood at the podium, happened to be in the high country, and said it was, no, we're a very successful organization. Here's the challenge. We're at the top of the mountain, and we're going on up. So let's make sure that we know what our path is to go on up from here. Thank you so much.